phenomenal medical problems with forced air, solar, and everything else from outgassing materials that it never became economically feasible. The same thing with photovoltaics. I mean, it wasn't economically feasible. So we have to come across all the other stuff. When we look at whether you got the oil, the gas, or the solar, or whatever you have, you come down to the windmills, which are all over creating here. And these windmills in our area are creating incredible weather disturbances beyond comprehension and everything else. And, I mean, it's just a mess. But then the other problem we have into is nuclear with all this stuff. Now, one of the problems I ran into when I was director of the depleted uranium project, all of a sudden I had to realize, wait a minute, in order to get reactor fuel and nuclear bombs, you put 100 grams in of the pure stuff, which is 234, 235, and 238. Out of 100 grams, the reactors take 0.6 grams out of the 100 grams. And 99.4 grams remains is what we call uranium hexafluoride, hence depleted uranium. So now they got 99% of everything of all waste that goes in the process. They got to get rid of it. So that's how we got DU weapons. And we take our radioactive waste, spread it all over the world, refuse to clean it up, refuse to provide medical care, even though it's mandated. The medical care is mandated. The environmental cleanup is mandated by the Army regulations I wrote that General Eric Shinseki, who is now Secretary of the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, signed off and mandated. So it's really neat. We got $750,000 backlog trying to get medical care, U.S. military alone, from the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. Incredible numbers in Canada. And Canada only does what Shinseki says. Okay, you need to understand that, just puppets. And so now we got a million people that can't get any medical care, okay? Million plus. And it's all broken because they disavow any connection, even though the guys that are now responsible for doing the medical care are the ones that ordered the medical care based on my input and our team's input. It's crazy. And now you got the same thing with the chemical and bio. Project SHAD veterans. We can't get Project SHAD veterans medical care to this day. I can't get atomic bomb testing, downwinders medical care to this day. I can't get medical care because of the Agent Orange contamination at Chanute Air Force Base in Rantoul, Illinois right now. And the numbers of cancers and medical problems and birth defects and all this stuff has become legendary. But any time we speak out, the retaliation becomes brutal, beyond comprehension.
What kind of retaliation, Doug?
Well, I mean, denied and delayed medical care, lost jobs, direct interference. I had a colonel that literally called the Danville VA to interfere with my medical care, and the chief of chaplains told him to take a flying leap. I was in a U.S. Congressman's office here, John Shimkus, today, and I said, here's the actual truth, gave him the Beyond Treason videotape and all the documents. They looked at it, saw the surgical stuff on my set, because I'm going to the appointment. I had it all with me. And then they went to the Department of Defense, on the website, typed it in, and here's the department. It says he wasn't there, he didn't do it, he's not sick, he's got no injuries. And the congressman's regional director is going, so much for that lie. They're not going to go along with the Obama thing. Direct statement. Congressman Shimkus and the other one here in Illinois that we have in our area, Rodney Davis, will not go along with Obama, but they've got the first-hand information.
All right, Doug, earlier you said that you were 200 miles away from a sarin explosion, and you tested positive for sarin.
Correct.
You also stated that based on your expert opinion and your expertise, that the video footage that has been shown all over the TV that has supposed to have been people who were subjected to sarin wasn't sarin attack. You've also said, Doug, that it doesn't take weeks to do an analysis. It takes minutes.
Correct.
So,
and the other thing, too, is if they released it where they showed on the maps, all of Damascus would have been wiped out and way beyond Damascus, most of Syria, because these are extremely small. We have to understand it's not like the United States and Canada. We have extraordinary distances here. These areas are extremely small. So this stuff goes a long, long ways. U.S. and Canadians, we're so used to incredible distance, we don't understand the geography, the fact that these towns are on top of each other, these nations are on top of each other. Most of these nations are the area of what we call a state.
All right, so you know this. Other members of the military know this. So how can the president, Congress, Secretary Kerry get away with what they're saying when it's not the truth?
Well, that's because people want to believe them because they want to. Now, again, the whole thing, they take in the detector kits and verify that it happened. Okay? And then the other thing, too, is they got to find out where it came from and who did it if it actually happened. And then, as Patricia Axelrod said on my thing, if you're going to do it and somebody's got it there, you better make sure you start putting all the defensive equipment in there. In other words, giving the atropine, diazepam, potassium chloride, all the gas masks, protective clothing, because there's no other way to protect it. It's like when we go blowing this stuff up, we send in the missiles right now when we blow anything up. You can't destroy it, as we learned during Desert Storm. You're going to spread it if it's there all over the place. But then the other question I come down to, and I've asked this question, I've asked some legal beagles, and I sent the message asking the Army guys, if Congress denies President Obama the authority to attack, first off, how can they even do that? Okay, give them authority to do it. And then President Obama orders attack. All of us that were in the military, or those that are retired from the military, they're in the military today, do we have an obligation legally and morally and ethically to disregard that order because it's an illegal order? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question. Ethically and morally, it's creating a crisis for me and everybody else I know. That's the reason why the VA is drowning in PTSD casualties today.
You know, and you and I were talking during the commercial break, and Syria hasn't attacked the United States. So how can the United States attack Syria?
Syria has not attacked the United States. They have no capability to attack the United States. They have no capability to overthrow our government. They haven't attacked any other nation. In fact, the weapons that Syria has in their military were sent to them during the Captured Equipment Project after Desert Storm by our team. Isn't that wonderful?
It's a screwed up world, Doug. It's a screwed up world. Where do you think
President Eisenhower warned us about the industrial military complex, 60 years ago, 50 years ago, and it's all come true.
What do your friends and former, the veterans that you know, and the politicians that you know, what are their comments about what's going on in Syria and the possibility of once again another conflict or another battle within the Middle East?
It's frightening because if we attack Syria, what's going to stop another nation like the Soviet Union or China or India from attacking us with a full nuclear strike? What's going to stop Pakistan from launching their nuclear weapons and attacking all of us? I mean, that frightens me. You can't push it to the ends of the envelope and not expect somebody to retaliate back on us. And that frightens me beyond comprehension. Because even if we had justification in Syria, we did find the chemical weapons were used in Syria. We don't know who used them. But does that give us the right to attack that nation? Because who are we attacking? Who are we attacking? We're destroying all the Syrian population by contaminating air, water, and soil, killing and destroying their infrastructure. We're not doing anything to anybody else. We're attacking civilians.
You know, even al-Assad today said that, there would be retaliation against an American airstrike, not only by his government, but friends of his government. And when asked if chemical weapons would be used, he said, if the terrorists had it. Strange words. Doug, are you there? There you are.
What bothers me is the Soviet Union moving their warships into the Mediterranean by ours, okay?
Yeah.
They've got a defense treaty with Syria. What's going to happen? Are we going to have a major naval battle? Is this going to go into it? Syria could launch all of their missiles that they have and obliterate Iran, all of them. They could obliterate Israel in a heartbeat. There's nothing you can do to stop it. And then the whole thing goes up because then Israel launches all their nuclear weapons and...
So what we have in the Middle East is Armageddon, as prophesied in the Bible.
Yeah, I've had a whole bunch of pastors and priests telling me that. That'll last 48 to 96 hours.
Hmm.
I mean, the Pope has called for a stop and saying this is nonsense.
Well, the Pope has called for a stop. The United Nations has called for a stop. Germany is saying, "Hey, listen, we're not going to do anything right now until we find out how real the deal is going to be about Syria getting all its biological weapons or chemical weapons over to the United Nations."
Wait a minute. So if Syria has those, what about the United States, Canada, and Britain, and Germany, and the Soviet Union turn in all of those?
Exactly.
We've used them on our populations. We've used them on populations. We sell them and give them away. So how can there be a double standard?
Why not, Doug?
There's a
double standard when it comes to nuclear reactors as well.
Correct.
And this to me is another example about, hey, my guns are bigger, so I can do what I want. Even though you're supposed to have the same rights that I have, you can't.
When I helped President Obama, he was a U.S. Senator, and helped him get elected here and working with his staff, I really had the hope and the dream that he would do things right. And it didn't happen. I got involved with President Obama because he was on a campaign thing, and one of the families of one of my guys who committed suicide, who never got medical care, went to him and said, "What's all this stuff about depleted uranium in Chem Bio during Desert Storm?" Obama wouldn't know. He wasn't involved. He wasn't in politics. He was, a teacher, okay? And everything in activist in Chicago, in the city of Chicago, which is, the worst place on the face of the earth as far as crime and everything else. The police tell the people around here, "Don't go come Chicago. We can't protect you." Right?
Wow.
That's what my friends in the police department that I've trained and taught all this stuff to in Chicago flat out say, "Don't come to Chicago. We can't protect you." They got roving gangs in the middle of the day up there. So you got all this stuff coming down. And so we put a whole briefing together for President Obama. He was not president, he was senator at that time. And our congressman, we did a secure congressional transfer, giving him all the information, provided it to him, and he's done nothing to help. Nada to help.
Doug
It gets worse and worse.
You and I have got to take a commercial break. Doug, please stand by. Always great talking to you. This is a very interesting time. We have a volatile situation into going on in Syria. And here's a question. Did Secretary Kerry actually force the hand of President Obama to do something that I don't think he really wanted to do? For some reason, I think that President Obama was looking for a fight. I don't know why. Especially since, like Doug said, Syria has not attacked the United States. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com.